and sending passive-aggressive messages if I didn't respond immediately. Meanwhile, my parents intensified their not-so-subtle comparisons, always framing Lara's financial recklessness as living life fully, while my stability was a character flaw. As November turned into December, I found myself both dreading and clinging to the holiday season. I had already bought thoughtful gifts for everyone, mentally preparing for the familiar dance of seeking approval while setting boundaries. But I didn't know this New Year's would be different, the most painful in every possible way. The realization came on December 15th, an ordinary Wednesday that quickly turned into anything but. During my lunch break, I was scrolling through my social feed when I saw it, a post from my cousin Taylor. The entire family was gathered around a Christmas tree at my parents' house. "Early family New Year's, so happy to have everyone together," the caption read. Everyone except me. I stared at my phone in disbelief. There was my dad carving a turkey, my mom arranging gifts, Lara laughing with aunts and uncles, cousins, grandparents, even distant relatives I barely recognized. The celebration had clearly happened the previous weekend. I hadn't even received a message. With trembling hands, I called my mother. She answered on the fourth ring, her voice artificially cheerful. "Oh, Olivia, how are you, sweetheart?" "Mom, why wasn't I invited to the family New Year's last weekend?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. A pause. "Oh, that. It was so spontaneous, darling. We just assumed you'd be busy with work. Lara mentioned something about you having plans." I had told Lara no such thing. When I pointed that out, my mother sighed dramatically. "Olivia, please don't start. It was just a casual get-together, nothing official. You know how Lara gets when she feels overshadowed. She's going through a hard time, and we didn't want to create tension. You understand, right? You've always been our strong one." Being the strong one was code for the one whose feelings could be dismissed without consequence. Before I could respond, she added that they'd see me on New Year's Day for the real celebration. The invitation felt like a last-minute scrap, tossed to pacify me. Later that evening, Lara sent me a string of messages. "Sorry you missed the party, it was so fun. Mom said you were busy. By the way, can you help me pick a gift for Mom? Thinking jewelry, but I need your financial input, sparkling heart, sparkling heart, sparkling heart." No acknowledgement that I had been excluded. No sincere apology. Just another request for money, disguised as sisterly bonding. That night, I lay awake replaying years of similar moments. The family trip to Cancun I only learned about from social media photos. My college graduation dinner where everyone showed up 3 hours late because Lara had a minor fender bender that required the whole family's attention. By morning, I had made a decision. I texted my mom to say I wouldn't be joining them for New Year's after all. I had made other plans. What plans could be more important than family? She replied. That word family had become so hollow. I didn't answer. Instead, I called my friend Lily, who had invited me to spend the holidays with her family for years. Unlike my biological relatives, Lily's parents had always welcomed me with warmth. "Of course come," Lily said without hesitation. "Mom always sets an extra place for you. Your family, Olivia." The contrast between that immediate acceptance and my own family's calculated exclusion brought tears to my eyes. In the days leading up to New Year's, I poured myself into creating new traditions. I helped Lily's family decorate the tree, baked cookies using her grandmother's recipe. For the first time in years, I felt the true warmth of the holiday season. Meanwhile, my phone continued buzzing with increasingly manipulative messages from my family. The only message that didn't feel toxic came from my Aunt Paula, my dad's sister. "I heard you're not coming for New Year's," she said. "Smart girl. Just wanted to let you know that casual get-together was actually planned 3 months in advance. I saw the invitation when I visited your parents back in September. The confirmation of their deliberate deceit stung, but it also brought clarity." Then Paula shared some gossip that explained a lot. Apparently, Lara had totaled her car last month, drove it straight into a ditch after one of her late-night outings. My parents were scrambling to figure out how to buy her a new one without touching the money set aside for renovations on their Palm Springs vacation home. I thanked Paula and tried to put it out of my mind, choosing instead to enjoy the holidays with people who truly wanted me around. January arrived with its usual post-holiday gloom. I threw myself back into work, finding solace in spreadsheets and forecasts, things that, unlike family dynamics, obeyed logic. 3 weeks after New Year's, I was finally beginning to feel like myself again. The pain of being excluded had dulled. And then the envelope arrived. It was a Thursday evening. Amid the usual bills and flyers was a thick envelope with my parents' return address. Inside was a stack of documents. The first page was an invoice for $45,000. Buyer, Lara Fairchild. Co-signer, Olivia Fairchild. I nearly dropped the papers. Below was a loan agreement for a brand new Mercedes with monthly payments of $1,100 over 60 months. My signature appeared under guarantor, a signature I had never written. Hands trembling, I flipped through the rest of the pages and found a handwritten note from Lara. Thanks for helping with the new car. The old one was totaled and I really needed reliable transportation. Mom and Dad said you'd understand after all, you're doing so well. Payment details enclosed, first installment due February 1st. Love you, sis. The casual audacity of her note made me nauseous. My heart pounded in my chest. I called my parents immediately. My dad answered on the second ring. Oh, Olivia, you got the paperwork we sent? Dad, what is this? I asked. I never agreed to co-sign a loan for Lara. That's not my signature. Well, he said, in that condescending tone he'd perfected over the years, let's not be dramatic. We knew you'd want to help your sister. She's been through such a trauma after the accident. The accident that was her fault because she was driving drunk, I said, recalling what Aunt Paula had told me. That's not the point. She needs a car for her new job. What new job? As far as I knew, Lara had never held down stable employment. She has an interview next week, he admitted. And she needs to make a good impression. The Mercedes will help with that. The absurdity would have been laughable if it weren't so enraging. Dad, someone forged my signature. This is fraud. I didn't agree to this. Your mother signed for you, he said dismissively. We knew you'd be stubborn, but family has to support family. You make more than enough to cover the payments. I was speechless. The ease with which he admitted to fraud. The entitlement to my income. The total disregard for my consent. It was staggering. This is illegal, I finally said. I'm not paying for Lara's car. Don't be selfish, Olivia. After all we've done for you. I hung up. Within minutes, my phone lit up with messages from Lara. Dad said you're making a big deal about the car. I need this car. You're being so selfish, Olivia. I turned off my phone and poured myself a large glass of wine, trying to process what had just happened. The next morning, for the first time in 3 years, I called in sick to work. I needed to understand exactly what I was dealing with. A quick online search confirmed my fears. If my name had been fraudulently added as a guarantor and I didn't report it, I could still be held liable. With growing dread, I logged into my banking accounts to check for unauthorized activity. What I found sent a chill down my spine. Someone had attempted to access my main savings account the day before, the account where I kept my emergency fund and down payment savings for a future home. Thankfully, the attempt had triggered a security alert due to unusual login activity, and the bank had frozen the account pending my confirmation. When I called the bank, they confirmed the attempt came from a device previously linked to my old laptop, the one I had given to my parents last year. The sense of violation was overwhelming. While I was still reeling from the forged loan, they had tried to directly steal my savings. This wasn't just audacity anymore. This was premeditated theft. Later that same day, I received an email from my mother. Olivia, your father is very disappointed by your reaction. Lara is heartbroken that you've abandoned her during a difficult time. As your mother, I must say, I raised you better than this. Family sticks together. The car is already purchased and Lara loves it. Don't ruin this for her. She plans to post about it this weekend and thank you publicly for your generosity. Don't embarrass her by creating drama. The email captured our family dynamic perfectly. My feelings didn't matter. Lara's desires were sacred, and my only value lay in what I could provide. The mention of a social media post was especially telling. Image mattered more than ethics or legality. By the end of the day, my shock had turned into something else. Clarity. Determination. For the first time, I saw my family's behavior for what it truly was. Not love, not kinship, but exploitation. And they had gone too far. The next morning, I booked an appointment with a lawyer. Lydia had recommended someone she trusted, Nancy Barrett, a sharp, no-nonsense attorney. She reviewed the documents with a practiced eye. This, she said, is a textbook case of fraud. She finally spoke. Your mother forged your signature on a legally binding financial document. The fact that she's your mother doesn't make it any less criminal. What are my options? I asked. You have several, she said bluntly, and none of them are pleasant. You can report the fraud to the police, which will likely result in criminal charges against your mother. You can report it to the bank and the dealership. They may pursue. Met everything I suspected. They didn't love me. They tolerated me for what I could provide. It should have broken me, but instead it freed me. The next morning, with perfect clarity, I called Nancy. I'm ready to report the fraud, I said. All of it. Then I called the bank that financed Lara's Mercedes. My name is Olivia Fairchild, I told the fraud department. I want to report a forged signature on a car loan. The bank moved swiftly. Within 3 days, I received confirmation. Their investigation validated my claim. The loan was removed from my name, and repossession proceedings had begun. The fallout was immediate. My phone lit up. Lara left unhinged voicemails and hysterical texts. They took my car. How could you? You ruined my life. I blocked her number. Then came the calls from my parents. My father's voice, usually so controlled, trembled with fury. What you've done is unforgivable. Your mother is in tears. You are no longer welcome in this home. I blocked them too. And then, one by one, I blocked every family member who might act as a go-between. The next day, my mother's lawyer contacted Nancy, offering family reconciliation in exchange for me dropping the charges. They were scared. What do you want? Nancy asked. I didn't want my mother to go to jail. I wanted closure, not more drama. We negotiated a settlement. My parents would pay all my legal fees, sign notarized admissions of forgery, and agree to a legally binding no-contact order. In return, I wouldn't press criminal charges. In the midst of it all, support came from unexpected places. Aunt Paula called to say she was proud of me. Even my cousin Roman, who I barely remembered, messaged to say he'd been through something similar and wished he'd had my courage. The family I thought would unite against me began to crack. The day the agreement was signed, I got a message from an unknown number. It was Lara. You think you won, but you lost everything. Enjoy your money and your empty life. Her words should have hurt, but they sounded different now. Yes, I had lost my biological family, but what had they ever brought me, other than stress and manipulation? The emptiness I felt wasn't from their absence. It was the realization that they were never truly mine. That evening, I had dinner with Lydia and her parents, people who had become my true support system. Lydia's father raised a glass to Olivia for the courage to choose self-respect over appeasement. And I realized I wasn't mourning the loss of a family. I was mourning the illusion that I ever had one, and celebrating the discovery that real family can be found elsewhere. I learned that family is not defined by DNA, but by mutual love and respect, without conditions or tabs. I learned that setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's survival. And most of all, I learned that walking away from toxic people isn't failure. Sometimes it's the bravest act of self-love there is.